Hey everybody, this is Mark Richards, the owner of Wasatch Recovery and a proud sponsor of Todd Sylvester's BeliefCast. We are excited to have you join us as we discuss Wasatch Recovery's unique treatment programs for overcoming addictions and techniques for developing a healthier lifestyle. We call this the Wasatch Way. Wasatch Recovery's goal is to instill hope, teach resilience, and help you achieve recovery. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires Belief Cast, and today we are doing another episode of the Wasatch Way. I'm joined with the owner of Wasatch Recovery, Mark Richards. Thanks for joining us. Yo.
What's up?
And then our marketing director, Ryan Decker. Thanks for being here, Ryan.
So glad to be here.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation today. Today we're going to talk about some great things. I also want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Wasatch Recoveries at the top of that list. We have Siegfried and Jensen, iHill Institute, and Veracity Networks. And I want to thank every one of you for tuning in week after week. You guys are fantastic. Keep sharing these episodes, especially these Wasatch Ways. If you know someone who's struggling with substance abuse or has a mental health issue, these are the episodes for them, especially their families. And we're trying to get people help. So this is going to be another great episode. Today we're going to talk about culture. Not only the culture here at Wasatch, but just recovery culture in general and kind of the pros and cons and the things that we see. So why don't we start off there? Maybe, Mark, I'll start with you. Just, maybe what are your thoughts on, culture and what you see? You've been doing this for 10 years now. You go everywhere. You know everybody. Just what are your thoughts on culture, and then, maybe what makes us maybe a little bit different than maybe other places?
Thanks, Todd. So, as I've been in this industry for the last 10 years, I've seen some cultural changes, believe it or not, within our industry here locally. Not so much on the national level, but here locally, I do see some culture differences. One of those things that's a positive thing is I do see that there's a lot of treatment centers that work together. We often participate in networking events with other facilities. I feel like there's some partnerships out there in a sense, and they're all trying to create a culture there to at least help the majority of people who are struggling in the behavioral and mental health area. Yeah. And so I do see some positives there. As far as the culture within those facilities, that's where it gets a little bit interesting, if you want to call it that. Yeah. And we focus on creating a very good culture for people in recovery. That doesn't always mean that it's roses and that it's easy and that it's always something extremely positive in their minds in the beginning. But we know how to create a culture for recovery, and that's so important to me.
Absolutely. Decker, you've came through our program. You've not only been here, but you've been in the industry for a long time as well. What do you see, and what do you feel like how culture actually influences people?
Well, and I would say like what Mark had said, that you do see a lot of the facilities that are doing this the right way and really caring to help people, that we all do work together. And I mean, it's pretty powerful, right? Like that we're kind of it's becoming more, what's the word? More people are talking about it, where it's not like it was where, every addiction was something that you just didn't talk about. You just dealt with it on your own. So letting people know, like, hey, look, I work in this industry, been there, done that. Like, and the culture we have here is something that the only way I could have done it is if it, it is what it is. And it was like a family away from my family, coming right before the holidays. That's not easy, but there is a sense of family, right? And some of these places that really doing it the right way, that compassion component is number one, right?
Yeah.
Is it easy? No, like not at all. Is it uncomfortable? For sure. But it's also safe.
Yeah. And
it's a safe place for, people to heal.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for sharing those thoughts. I'm going to share some things here just for a minute that I just think it just ruffles some people's feathers, especially in the recovery world. And again, what works if something works for you, I'm the first person to congratulate. I don't if a certain program, a certain modality works for you, good. I'm the first one to say great job. But I just feel like we're taught in just our society. I'm not in society we're taught that once an addict, always an addict. Once you've gone down that road, the chances of you succeeding are slim to none. You're a criminal, you're a thief, maybe at times you've been that when you're in your addiction, but you become these labels, and it creates this culture. And I see it with our own clients. Like this morning, I was meeting with a client who's been here a week at Wasatch, and she was crying, going, "I can't believe the difference in this place." And I said, and you guys, we've talked about this before, it's the best university on the planet if you look at it that way. And she was like worried what she was going to tell her family when she leaves. I said, just tell them you attended the best university on the planet. I go, that's your response, because it really truly is. And not only that, this is more of a life program. I think the culture it's like we're trying to get our clients to experience joy again in their life. Yes, we can stop the drugs and the alcohol. Great, fine. But you can be a miserable sober person, right? You can be miserable.
Well, and we all know those.
Yes,
for real.
Yeah. So I have different thoughts on that. I don't think you always have to be in recovery. I don't think you always have to be broken and damaged. I don't think you necessarily have a disease. And I know that's going to ruffle some feathers. And again, whatever works for you. But I'm telling you, I see it doing more damage than good when these people believe that I'm going to be in recovery the rest of my life and I'm going to have to do this the rest of my life, when it's like, well, I mean, it's like this life sentence. And I just see a lot of negative come from it at times. What are you guys' thoughts on that? And I know I'm ruffling feathers right now. People might be upset for me saying this, but
I love that you're saying it, Toddy. We've witnessed it, and that's why you can say what you say.
Yeah,
is we've witnessed people who are recovered and that they don't have the desire to use drugs and alcohol, but with that comes happiness. And in a life program, if you're happy, you're not going to be using. And we've realized that all those addictions are driven by secondary issues,
right,
most of the time.
Yeah.
And I look at what we've created here, and exactly to your point, we don't want to focus on drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
We want to focus on life and where are you going in life?
Yeah.
What are you going to do in life? How can you be happy in life? Because that is what we're here for, is to be happy. And you can be.
Yeah.
We believe that.
Well, it's interesting. You go to a recovery program, but you can never be recovered. Like you go to recovery, but you're never done. I get what they're saying. Like you got to put in the work. You got to stay strong. You don't see me hanging out at the bars anymore. I know that. I'm smart, but it's like I'm living my life. Decker, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? And I know you've been clean how long? 7 years?
Almost 7 years.
7 years, which is amazing, by the way. But you're still pretty fresh in this. People would say, yeah, you're still kind of fresh in this recovery process. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, after meeting with you for every morning,
That's right. Every morning, 6 a.m.
So, I mean, a lot of like what you've taught me, I applied, right? That happiness can be a choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that I don't have to always, fight this, right? Like, why would you want to do that? Like to be recovered, why would you always want to white knuckle it? Like the one thing about Wasatch is, you're right, like the drugs and alcohol are just one part of it, right? Like not doing it, that's not the point. The point is if you can legitimately be happy, why'd you ever need to dive back into a bottle?
Yeah.
Right. And knowing how to navigate through life stuff, just because I'm not, drinking and drugging doesn't mean that necessarily like I'm happy, and everybody's going to have stuff that happens in their lives, and, learning how to navigate through that without having to fall back. And I hate that concept that I've got to be sick, right? That I've got this disease. The hell I don't, right? Like This is my life. I choose what I want to do. And if I decide I want to be recovered, I'm recovered.
Yeah.
I never want to go. Why'd I ever want to go back to that life and to think that, okay, this is scary. What if I do this? If you change your mentality to, I'm done with that. That's old me. Like that's the past.
Right.
And always look forward. Then you can be recovered.
Right. No, I love that. I want to maybe touch on something you said about, we're talking about being happy again, finding joy again in your life. If you walk up to a depressed person and you say, happiness is a choice. They're going to flip you off.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to say, F you, you know what? But if you teach this person who's depressed what creates the feelings of happiness, purpose, controlling our thinking, helping other people. Like you talked about, Mark, about how we create this recovery process here. It's not just a nice facility. When they get here, there's some meat to this, man. And so when we do that, that's what we're saying, right? Is we're helping these clients actually go, oh, I can be happy and I can move on from that life. It's interesting. I'll ask someone, okay, when did you start using? They're like, 16. I was 16 when I really started getting into it. And I'll say, so isn't it funny? Like, so from 16 to 26, you define your life as that's who you are. But why can't you define your life from the time you were born till you were 16? You were clean. You weren't born a drug addict. Why can't you go back to defining yourself as that versus you're taking this chunk of time? And it's like
16 years of happiness versus 10 years of unhappiness.
That's my point. But now it's like you're always an addict in recovery when in reality, no, that wasn't you. You went away from who you were when you were, right? And it's so cool to watch these clients go, I've never thought of it that way, right? And I think that's what we do here, right? You guys see that where we teach them to see it like, what if you looked at it that way? Again, we're not trying to discredit any other modality out there. What we're saying is, I think what happens is the culture is, kind of put people into a corner and this is how it is, period. You're this, you're sick, you're broken, you're powerless, all this stuff. No, God, I mean, to me, that sounds like, God, give me a drink. I don't know. I just don't know about that mentality, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, that's depressing to think that way. And there is something to be said about being recovery, right? It's like you said, you're not hanging out in bars, right?
Right.
So if you're doing, what you're supposed to be doing and things that you know are gonna, help you in your recovery, or you surround yourself with people that make you the best version of yourself, right? It is one of those things that you have to be cautious, right? Like, I'm not gonna go to the liquor store or anything, right? Or I'm not gonna, surround myself with people that aren't gonna make me a better version of me. But you definitely, I hate that the disease stuff, right? I don't like to think of that, that's, or, junkie or whatever, right? Like that doesn't define me. Those poor decisions and hard couple decades I had, that doesn't define who I am.
Right.
It's me now. Right. And like where I want to go, that does.
And a great point, Decker, because I think you're being now who you were before all that.
Yeah.
That's who you're being.
Or even a better version.
Or a better version of that. But that's what I try to, I've noticed that's kind of what we do here at Wasatch is we help them see it differently in that way. And it's powerful.
100%.
Right?
When we started this, I've mentioned this before in other podcasts, we always said, what do we need to do to help this population? And what we came up with is just hope and love. Mm-hmm. And if you're constantly saying that you're going to be in recovery the rest of your life and you're going to be white knuckling it and you're going to be living with this disease, what kind of hope does that give that individual? It doesn't give you a lot of hope.
Yeah.
But to be able to change that narrative and say, yes, you can be recovered. Yeah. Yes, you can be something else. Yes, you can be a better version of yourself. Yes, you still have choice. That creates a lot of hope.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is the biggest difference in recovery versus recovered.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point, Mark. I think, I know, and people might be hearing like, oh, hope and love. I mean, it almost sounds like we say those words so much that we're desensitized to it. But it truly is. Like, that's what's different here. Like, it starts from the top, Mark. Like, people, any client who's ever come through here cannot say that Mark didn't love them. Right, Decker?
That's true.
I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
Like, and what other owner can really truly say that? Like, I think people think we say that and they'll go, oh yeah, really. But you ask any client who's been through here, even if they didn't like maybe the overall experience, I guarantee you they cannot say Mark didn't love them.
Right. And I just think that's so important because, again, not to reiterate what we've talked about in the past, but they've lost so much love in their life. They've lost so many people's faith in them. They've lost the trust of almost everybody they know personally.
Yeah.
And so to have one more person that believes in them, who doesn't judge them, who really truly can sit here and go, you know what? I know you can do this.
Yeah.
And that here at Wasatch is such a difference. And there's a couple things that we do to create that culture within our own facility. And immediately it's by introducing ourselves and setting an expectation.
Yes.
Which
you're good at that. Yeah.
I hate not having an expectation on somebody who walks into the facility.
Yeah.
It's so important to have an expectation. I expect you to do well while you're here. That's why you're here. And if you don't have an expectation or set an expectation, how many people are going to achieve something?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to set an expectation. And that immediately sets this experience up for a good culture.
Yep. I hear this all the time, like when I'm meeting with a client. Hey, Mark, the owner, is having me do this. He wants me to work on my goals, this thing. You're really good with that too, because I don't think we touch that enough here, honestly. And it's great that that comes from you, right? And when they hear that that's coming from the owner, I mean, that's so rare, man. So, I mean, what was your experience, Decker, with Mark when you were coming through here?
Well, I mean,
again, we're talking culture here.
Right.
This creates a culture.
For sure. And the one thing that I go back to the love thing, right? The one thing that I was told when I came here is let us love you until you can love yourself.
Mm.
And you think about that, and that's powerful, right?
Yeah.
But the culture here, like getting to know Mark and you guys coming through here, I mean, I was just a resident. I didn't know you guys beforehand.
Yeah.
But I felt immediately like I was part of a family, right? In that culture where this is a safe place, the most unique thing in the world, where you can dump out your deepest, darkest stuffs, work through them, and like set goals and work on become the best version of yourself. But it is, I mean, to the point that I was friends with you guys by the time I left, and I stay part of this culture, playing softball, going to our alumni meetings and things like that, to now the point that I work here, right? And so that's pretty amazing. Where I wasn't just a resident; I was legit family, and it still feels that way. So
what's cool, Decker, is, and Mark will attest to this, when we hear you talking to a potential client coming here, the way you talk about that love and hope, I mean, right? I mean, it's amazing how you cultivate that on the phone automatically. You're already creating the culture by the way you talk to them on the phone. I always like when I walk out of your office, because I know you're on a call and I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm like, damn, that person, if they just hear these powerful words by Decker, I mean, come on, man, how could you say no to that? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just different than, and I hear this a lot too, Decker, where the clients say, yeah, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Decker. I'm like, what do you mean? Dude, the dude called me every day, and not only did he call me, he talked to me. He cared about me. He told me this and that. I mean, things that I never heard from anyone else. He goes, I really feel like these people care, and it started with their initial call, and sometimes they get that initial call with Mark too, and I hear this all the time.
Well, one
it's
thing
so
I love about Decker and the way he approaches that is he does it with so much love, but he's not sitting on the surface with these people.
Right.
He's telling them exactly what is going to be here and how their experience is going to be. And he will let them know it's not easy.
Yeah.
This is tough. We've got to get to the root of your issue, or you're going to continue to struggle in your own life, and you can't be happy if you're hanging on to all this stuff.
Right.
So it's not like he's telling them everything they want to hear. But that is, in my opinion, what creates the relationship of trust right in the moment, is you're willing to say the hard things along with the easy things.
Yeah.
And inside of Wasatch here, I think that's where people really start to feel that cultural difference is, number one, it's set up like a big family.
Yeah.
There's all people of all ages. Obviously there's men and women. They're dealing with parental, examples. They've got kids in here. They've got all these different things that they're dealing with, and it creates a true family situation, and they have to hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
And what I hear oftentimes with my residents is, I love your staff. And if we can create a culture for the staff to jump on board and be the team to serve the client in a way that is positive, then it's going to translate into that culture for the residents on top of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think that, like I said, it starts from the top with you, Mark, and it's just kind of the expectation. You have expectations not only for the clients, but for us, the way we carry ourselves with our jobs, right? I mean, you know. So I want to throw something at you here because I want to talk about we're talking about culture. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this, and it's a really powerful way to describe culture. So there's a guy named Roger Bannister. I'll go over this really quickly. Roger Bannister was the first person to run a mile under 4 minutes. And before he did that, the culture, the world culture, believed that a human being cannot run that fast. It's impossible. And if you tried, your heart would explode. That was the consensus. So that became this barrier, right? That the culture came up with. So now here's this barrier. You can't do it. Roger Bannister in April of 1954 is the first person to do it. He breaks it, right? He does it, right? People are like, freaking out. Like, I can't believe this guy ran that fast. Guess how long his record lasted? 46 days. Guess what happened all over the world? Rapid fire. People started doing it. That was, since then, over 20,000 people have done that. High school kids are doing it now. And what happened is he changed the culture of the world, or at least in the running world. I mean, to me, this is the most fascinating story about changing culture. It's impossible, can't do it, so it stood forever until he does it, and it's like 46 days later, someone breaks it.
And I think that's such a great example, Toddy, is with that culture, no one believed, somebody did it, now people believe it.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we're shooting for here, especially in the stuff that you teach, is so many people in this industry believe that you're always in recovery. Mm-hmm. And you as an individual,
there's the barrier,
there's
folks.
the barrier.
The world has bought into that.
Right.
It really has.
Yeah, it has. You've got a disease. You'll never be recovered. You are going to be in recovery the rest of your life. You can't truly change. This is who you are. We could name 1,000 statements that people make. And when they come into your office, just like you say, the first moment they sit down, the narrative is different. And if you can get people to believe that narrative and show them that it is what it is, and we can do that with plenty of individuals at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yes, plenty.
One sitting right next to us.
Seriously.
Exactly. Decker's living proof, folks. And there it is. You said it, Mark. And that's what broke the barrier with Decker. Because Decker, trust me, if you would have first came into Wasatch and I told you the same things you've heard everywhere else, you would have just been like, this is what it is. And that barrier still would be there. Now, that barrier works for people. So if you're getting your feathers ruffled right now and you're upset, I'm not trying to discredit you guys. What I'm saying is, why can't it be different? Could it be? And I've been doing this 32 years. I got thousands, close to 20,000 clients, if I added them all up, that would back this up. So we're not just saying this willy-nilly. Mark, you got 10 years experience. Decker, you got, 10 years. Guys, we're not just saying this, but that's what broke the barrier for you. You started seeing it differently, right?
Yep. That's that belief system that you're broken is kind of BS.
And now rapid fire people are starting to do it.
And I tell people every time that they call me, I'm like, hey, listen, if I can do this, anybody can do this. You can be done,
Yeah. So that's the power of culture. And that's what we're trying to do, Mark. And you said it perfectly here. That's what we're trying to do.
It's the power of the culture. And the culture, to me, in the facility is so, so important. In this industry, without fail, I would say, let's call it 75% of our people have been to another treatment center.
Oh, yeah.
They've been doing this. They're in a revolving door type life of, I've been taught this. I've given this packet. This is why you use drugs. This is your thinking errors. They've been taught the same thing over and over and over and can't figure out why they can't change or why they can't succeed. And all you got to do is change that thought process or the culture in their mind and give them some belief. And now all of a sudden they go, wow, I actually can be somebody different.
Well, it's kind of like with Decker. Decker, for those of you who don't know, I think we may have said this when you were on the episode, but he would show up at my office at 6 a.m. every morning, bug the crap out of me, but I loved it at the same time. But he was just eating this stuff up because it was different. But not only was it different, it was true. See, we're not trying to get you to believe something that isn't real. We're not trying to like, oh, we don't like this. We're like, no, this is real. And you ate that up, Decker.
And you know what? And it's like you said, it's not dissing on one thing or the other. My program or what I had involved everything. All sorts of different types of programs, right? If you don't have a support group, there's places that are great for support groups, right? Everybody's life situation's, different. But yeah, I came and knock on your window every day at 6 a.m. because whatever you had, I wanted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I hope that people can feel that from me, to them that they can be done.
Yeah.
This can be it.
Yeah.
Well, and if you go back, take David Goggins, for example. If people don't know who he is, he's a freak. I mean, but he always says, embrace the suck. Yep. Embrace the suck. And we tell people that. Embrace the suck. Be grateful for the suck.
Yeah.
Be grateful for the hard stuff, because then when it's good, it's even that much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you're grateful for those little things, if you're grateful for the crappy days, that's a choice.
Yep.
We can wake up on the wrong side of the bed and still make a choice to say, you know what? Today is a tough day. Man, I'm happy that I'm alive and I got to experience that rough day so that I can learn from that, and tomorrow's going to be a great day.
Yeah.
And right there alone is different thinking.
Yeah. I mean, I'll always say this. I'll ask clients, what's the definition of success? And you get all kinds of answers. I'm like, no, it's waking up in a good mood. There it is. You can be clean and sober and you're miserable. What's the point? Wake up in a good mood. You figured out life. Right? I always say this, like being clean and recovered is like pizza. When it's good, it's really damn good. When it's bad, it's still pretty damn good.
I love that. I love that.
But seriously.
Because I love pizza.
Yeah, everyone can relate with that. And that's what it means to be recovered. It's not just about being off of substances. It's about being honest, having integrity, being accountable, helping other people, being an influence for good, having a purpose, like Decker, Decker has a purpose in his life. He's a family man. He loves hunting. But he also loves making sure people get help. Yeah. It's awesome to watch that, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
We love
it's
Decker,
unbelievable.
Man. Seriously.
We do.
Greatest guys on the planet. Any other closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
I just want to put it out there that, just speaking on the Wasatch culture, I can honestly say that the staff here at Wasatch is here for one reason only. It's to help each individual as an individual.
Right.
And I hear that often from our residents. I love your staff. And it's not a blanket program. The culture is different here. It is a culture that we expect you before you walk out the doors to be happy. We've said this in the past. We're probably the only place that begs people to stay longer, that they don't leave until they're ready, until they can honestly say, I'm in a good place and I'm happy.
Right.
And then obviously there's some more work to do because they got to go back out in the stressors of the world. But I'll tell you, it's if you can be here and be happy being in this environment, sometimes you never want to leave, but there is a great culture here on this property. And I always say it's a blessing to be here. It's a blessing for anybody to go and experience it, if it's with us or if it's with somebody else who's created a great culture within their facility. I commend them. We respect them. We love them. We love to reciprocate with them, and we know who they are. And so even if we couldn't take somebody, we know where people should be. And that's so important and vital in this industry.
Love it. Very well said, Mark. So I'm going to pose this last question to Decker. If there's someone listening to this right now who is struggling, or they're listening to this and they have a son or a daughter who's using, or a niece or a nephew or a cousin or whatever it may be, what advice could you give them right now?
Don't wait till things get worse and just to reach out. And I give out my cell phone number, directly.
So what is that cell number?
So it's 801-318-4240. And like I said, don't wait. And I always hate when people do last hurrahs because that's when people die, right? And so
do one more time out, they end up dying.
Yep. So if you know anybody, or you yourself, or nobody's immune to, this kind of hurt, but there's a better way out. You know what I mean? There's happiness, and we can help get you on that path. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Well, and we're coming up on the holidays, and I think in 2 weeks we're going to do another episode, us three again. We're going to talk about it because you're in treatment during the holidays, and that can be a really difficult time, not only for the client but for the families as well. We'll talk about that. Mark, do you want to, if someone wants to reach out to you, how would they do that?
They can call me right on my personal mobile phone. It's 801-898-7778. And again, we're in this just to help anybody and everybody. If you just have questions, concerns, how to approach somebody, it doesn't necessarily have to be the client themselves.
Yeah.
We're here and available for information. We're here to help. We're here to do whatever we can do to help somebody.
Love it.
Yep.
Well, thanks for taking some time, guys. It was a good conversation.
Yeah, great
That's
conversation.
good stuff, man.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, hey guys, there you go. Thanks for tuning in once again. Like Decker said, please don't wait. If someone's struggling or if you're struggling, call Decker, call Mark, reach out on this podcast, whatever you need to do to get help. We're here for you. Again, this is the greatest university on the planet. We talk about this all the time. Come join the greatest university on the planet and get the help that you need. So love you guys. Thanks to our sponsors once again, and Mark and Decker. You guys are awesome guys. So grateful to know you and love you guys.
You too, Toddy. Thanks.
Okay, till next time.